After a busy Saturday morning, the Turners are home and powering up.
Come on, I need to get that guy. He's crazy.
The heating is on, there's washing to be done, children to feed and entertain. This family of 5 uses a lot of power. So when their retailer AGL said their electricity bills were about to almost double, it was a huge shock.
I thought to myself, we're in a cost of living crisis. The main thing they said was, we don't have a better deal for you than that.
Will Turner's much cheaper 2-year energy contract had expired and he was being moved onto a regulated default offer. On the same day, he read AGL was expecting to double its profits.
I just felt there was a real lack of balance to what I was observing. I was this whopping huge price increase on the one hand, and then I look on the news and AGL's telling its shareholders it's going to be a great year ahead. We're going to make hay while the sun shines. And I'm like, well, the sun's not shining on us. I just couldn't believe it.
Default electricity price offers are set by the regulators each year. They are supposed to act as a safety net for customers and as a benchmark price. The increases are calculated based on what it costs retailers to provide us with electricity. Prices on the East Coast and South Australia are up an average of 20 to 25%. The peak body for electricity retailers insists the steep price rises are needed.
We had international factors like Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, which reverberated globally in terms of pressure on coal and gas supply and prices. And domestically in Australia, we had some challenges along the East Coast, both with some unscheduled plant maintenance, some weather events that prevented the delivery of coal to some coal generators.
New analysis of electricity bills by the competition watchdog, the ACCC, says a staggering number of Australian households are paying more than they should.
There are more than 1 million customers paying more than the safety net price. That means they're paying more than they need to.
Is that evidence of price gouging?
I think it's evidence that retailers are struggling to maintain really cheap market deals everywhere all the time at the moment. There's a very tough economic environment for retailers to operate in.
AGL and Origin have recently upgraded their profit forecasts. Does that suggest that they might be price gouging?
Look, AGL and Origin are large, very diverse businesses, and their retail business is just one part of the larger parent company.
AGL and Origin told 7:30 the strong financial results aren't related to their retail side of the business, but the competition watchdog has put all retailers on notice.
What we will do over the remainder of this year is really look at the costs and margins of the retailers and see if we have any evidence of competition concerns. If we do, we will highlight that and make recommendations to government.
This man was in charge of Victoria's energy regulator for a decade. He's concerned about how default offers are calculated.
It's very difficult to estimate a default offer because there just isn't enough information available to the regulators. No regulator wants to put an energy company out of business by setting the default offer too low. So there's a natural bias within the way the regulators set these default prices to the high side. In other words, favouring the retailer rather than the customer.
The regulators declined an interview request, but in a statement, the Australian energy regulator said they relied on a mix of confidential and public data to determine the prices and have sought to protect consumers from unjustifiably high prices. The Victorian Essential Services Commission said it uses data on retail operating costs collected under compulsory information notices and considered all stakeholder submissions in setting the default price. But Ron Ben-David says not all costs regulators are passing on to consumers are reasonable. Default offers also allow retailers to make a profit margin of between 5 to 9% this year.
If it's set as a percentage, if wholesale costs go up, for example, then the retailer makes a bigger profit.
And cover the costs of marketing.
If retailers want to market themselves, that should be funded out of shareholder funds.
Retailers need to be able to recover the costs of doing business, of running their businesses from their customers. That's just a fact of life.
The rules of the market that we've created allows retailers to set whatever prices they want. It's a free market. But the way it's been set up is the onus has been placed on the customer to shop around. And why should customers have to shop around for an essential service just to avoid being ripped off? It seems very unfair.
Will Turner knows how difficult it is to shop around. It took him hours of research and phone calls.
It's a minefield trying to compare. There are traps out there, promises of great prices, but it's only in the middle of the day, not when these people who are doing the comparing actually want to use or need to use their electricity.
Questions about how regulators set prices come as federal and state governments spend $3 billion to reduce the cost of energy bills for struggling households.
It's great that governments are chipping in to try and support and provide some relief for households, particularly households that are doing it tough. But again, is it acceptable that an energy market results in prices that are so high for people that governments need to step in to do that?
As the uptake of solar and batteries speeds up, Ron Ben-David says the market is about to get even more complicated and governments need to step in.
My view is that we have to flip the model. We say to energy companies, you have a duty of care. It's up to you to ensure that before you put a customer onto an energy contract, that contract is suitable for that customer given their needs.
Will Turner's persistence finally paid off. He ditched AGL and eventually found a better electricity deal with another retailer, saving him hundreds of dollars a year. But he still can't understand why retailers are allowed to get away with charging families like his so much in the first place.
It's, to me, it beggars belief. So I think the whole regulation doesn't seem to work so well for the consumer.